Melissa Gilbert, a beloved American actress, producer, and director, is well known for her iconic performance as Laura Ingalls Wilder in the beloved NBC drama series Little House on the Prairie. She became well known as a young girl, won over audiences with her charm and skill, and has remained active in the business ever since. We are reminded of simpler times by the Little House on the Prairie. It was always enjoyable, as far as I can recall. Gilbert has demonstrated incredible fortitude in the face of personal hardships, such as several marriages, tax issues, and an addiction fight. She just revealed something shocking about Dean Butler, who portrayed her husband on Fuller House. Let's examine what she revealed. Origins and childhood. On May 8, 1964, Melissa Gilbert was born to Kathy Wood and David Darlington, a newly engaged couple who were ill-prepared for parenting. Actor and comedian Paul Gilbert and his wife, actress and dancer Barbara Crane, placed her for adoption shortly after her birth, and took her in the very next day. Jonathan Gilbert, the couple's son, was later adopted, who would later co-star on Little House on the Prairie, alongside Melissa. Her adoption's motivations are still unknown. The evidence indicate differently, despite her adoptive parents' claims that they had trouble getting pregnant. After Melissa was adopted, Barbara Crane fell pregnant twice, one of which ended in miscarriage and gave birth to Melissa's sister Sarah, and Paul Gilbert had a daughter from a prior relationship with whom Melissa had only met once. Melissa's parents separated when she was just 6 years old. Sarah Gilbert was born to her mother and Harold Abels after their marriage, but they eventually divorced. Paul Gilbert passed away 6 years following the divorce. Years after learning the truth, Melissa was initially informed that he had had a stroke. Paul, a veteran of the military, who suffered from severe agony, committed suicide. She was devastated by the realization. She suffered from sleeplessness, appetite loss, emotional instability, sadness, and a strong sense of abandonment for almost 6 months. Melissa never received a formal religious education or a conversion ceremony, despite being brought up in the Jewish faith that her adoptive mother professed, according to her memoir, Fame in Childhood. Melissa Gilbert made her first on-screen appearances in advertisements, such as one for Alpo dog food. She was going to school with Leslie Landon, the daughter of filmmaker and actor Michael Landon, at about the same time. Leslie was the one who told Melissa that she had been chosen to play Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie, out of more than 500 young actresses. Filmed in 1973, the pilot for the show was a ratings triumph. Filming for the entire series started almost a year later. Melissa's life appeared to be significantly different from that of other girls her age, who were going to school and playing outside. She worked long hours on set, immersing herself in the prairie life of the 19th century. The popular book series by Laura Ingalls Wilder served as the inspiration for Little House on the Prairie. The program followed the Ingalls family, which included Father Charles, Mother Caroline, and their daughters Mary, Laura, and Carrie, as they lived on a farm in Walnut Grove, Minnesota, in the late 1800s. With major plotlines centered on school life, such as conflicts with the pampered Nellie Oleson, a large portion of the story was told from Laura's point of view. The story changed over time. While the Ingalls family moved several times, Mary became blind and left to teach at a school for the blind. In the end, Laura wed Almanzo Wilder. Laura and Almanzo were left to fend for themselves after Charles and Caroline sold the family farm and moved out of Dakota in the show's last season. Melissa became close to the Landon family after her adoptive father passed away, but when it was discovered that Michael Landon had been having an affair with Cindy Clerico, a teenage makeup artist on the program, their relationship soured. Melissa was extremely distressed by the revelation, which created a major split. She avoided Landon after the series concluded in the 1983-1984 season. The Landon family informed Melissa years later that Michael was bedridden and suffering from pancreatic cancer. They had an emotional afternoon together when she paid him a visit at his house in Malibu. He died a week after that. In remembrance of the guy who had once played such a significant role in her life, Melissa named her son Michael when she gave birth to him on October 6, 1995, with her second husband. The Little House. Melissa Gilbert continued to work in television after Little House on the Prairie ended. In 1996, she co-starred with her then-husband Bruce Boxleitner in 3 episodes of Babylon 5 as Anna Sheridan, and she played missionary Jean Donovan in the biographical movie Choices of the Heart. Additionally, she provided the voice of Batgirl in the animated Batman series from the 1990s. However, Tara Strong eventually took her place in the sequel, The New Batman Adventures. Melissa received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is situated at 6429 Hollywood Boulevard, in 1985. Actor Rob Lowe, who was then her fiancé, was present for the unveiling ceremony. A few years later, in 1998, she was admitted to the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City's Western Performers Hall of Fame. In Season 4 of Nip Tuck in 2006, Melissa played the provocative character of Sherry Noble, a patient who had engaged in zoophilia with her dog and was seeking breast reconstruction. She made a comeback to her tiny house roots in 2008 and 2009 when she played Caroline Ma Ingalls in the series' musical adaptation. The Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis hosted the production's debut, which was directed by Francesca Zambello and starred Cara Lindsay as Laura. In June 2010, the musical's run at Kansas City, Missouri's Starlight Theater came to an end. Melissa, who was paired with Maxim Chermurkovsky on Season 14 of Dancing with the Stars, joined the Celebrity Contestants cast in March 2012. She fell and struck her head on Maxim's leg around week 4, resulting in a moderate concussion. After being brought to the hospital, she went home to recuperate. She continued to compete in spite of the injuries, and despite being eliminated in week 8, she finished in 5th place. After a fierce campaign in which she ultimately defeated actress Valerie Harper, Melissa was elected president of the Screen Actors Guild in 2001. After defeating Kent McCord with 50% of the vote to his 42%, she was re-elected in 2003. She said in July 2005 that she will not run for a 3rd term. If she were to beat them a 3rd time, it would be embarrassing for everyone. Melissa declared in August 2015 that she would run for the U.S. House of Representatives in 2016 in Michigan's 8th Congressional District. In a statement posted on her website, Melissa stated that she decided to run for Congress in order to help all the families who thought they could have been left behind by the economic downturn at the time. She thinks it took a team to create a new economy, and in order to complete the task, new perspectives had to be brought to the table. However, how did she ever start to take an interest in politics? Melissa became active in local politics after she and her 3rd husband, Timothy Busfield, relocated to Michigan. The 2014 state gubernatorial contest, in which Democrat Mark Schauer faced off against Republican Rick Snyder, particularly piqued her interest. She wanted to back Schauer and his running mate, Lisa Brown, because she was a fan of both of them. In order to involve her, she and her spouse called her. Moreover, she had no affection for Snyder. The more Melissa read about him, the more she believed he was a stereotypical neocon, anti-feminist, anti-choice, anti-immigrant, xenophobic, and homophobic. According to her 22 book, Back to the Prairie, Eerie Climate Skeptic, the idea that Michigan, a once progressive state, would be going purple infuriated her. She felt compelled to stand with Brown and Schauer. Busfield added that his wife wanted to get involved, and that they were more than pleased to accept the assistance after locating their campaign headquarters. Melissa started working right away, making appearances, distributing pamphlets door to door, and giving public speeches when candidates were unable to attend an event. She spent the remainder of the day with Schauer and Brown on their campaign bus after rising early to cast her ballot on Election Day. After finishing at one of Detroit's big hotels, they got back together later that night to watch the returns in their own spacious suite. Quite shortly, it became quite evident that the team would not be getting the desired outcomes for Schauer and Brown. Melissa needed a few days of alone and quiet to process the loss since she found it devastating. She even had to put aside all of the plans she had been excited to start, and the work she was prepared to perform. Melissa claimed that despite the tragic loss, she had a really good experience working with Schauer and Brown. She was pleased with how she had used her time during the campaign. She loved interacting with people, listening to their tales, and telling them that she would do her best to be of assistance. When Shower presented her with a suggestion the next election, she was eager to hear it. He asked her a question when he called to catch up. "Do you want to run for your district's congressional seat?" It took a moment to make sense of those words. Melissa writes in her book, why she was the one he had considered was the obvious question she questioned. Mark added that he had seen how she sincerely tried to assist others while listening to their issues. Melissa, in his opinion, belonged in service. Politics was one thing, service was another. Despite being flattered, she told Shower that she wanted time to reflect and discuss the matter with her husband. She ultimately made the decision to run, of course, but health issues forced her to stop her campaign early in 2016. Had it not been for the fact that she had been charged with tax fraud before to her withdrawal, everyone would have taken her narrative seriously. Melissa was referred to as a tax cheat by a representative for her opponent's campaign shortly after she declared her intention to run for the U.S. representative seat from Michigan. Melissa reportedly owes $112,000 in California state taxes and $360,000 in outstanding federal taxes. Melissa answered right away. She denied it, claiming that the economy, divorce, and a halted acting career were the causes of the tax debt. She added that although she and the IRS had worked out a repayment schedule, that year her political aspirations came to an end. Unions. In 1986, Melissa and Rob Lowe were briefly engaged, but their brief romance was rocky. Melissa acknowledged that both parties had cheated, and that their 1987 breakup was ultimately brought on by an unintended pregnancy. Lowe had informed her that he was unable to commit to marriage or fatherhood. She suffered a miscarriage shortly after announcing their separation. From 1988 to 1994, she was married to actor Bo Brinkman. From 1995 to 2011, she was married to actor Bruce Boxleitner. Alcohol, insecurity, and the unfamiliarity of two individuals who hardly knew one another juggling their personal and professional lives were all part of her first marriage. In their marital bed, she also found her husband cheating on her. Only 2 months after their kid was born, Melissa claimed that he just asked her, "What are you looking at?" when he was apprehended. Melissa moved on to meet fellow Hollywood actor Bruce Boxleitner a year after her divorce from Bo Brinkman. In 1995, the couple got married and welcomed their son Michael into the world. Melissa acknowledged that although they were married for 16 years, their marriage actually dissolved shortly after it started. While appearing in Seduction in a Small Town, she had an emotional affair with her leading man, as she revealed in her biography Prairie Tale. Dennis McNamara played her character's husband in the film, however she did not identify him. Timothy Busfield, an American actor and filmmaker, is her third and present spouse. On the television show 30-something, he portrayed Elliot Weston. Mark is the brother-in-law of Danny Concannon from The West Wing and Ray Kinsella from Field of Dreams. In 1991, he won the Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series for People in Their 30s. In addition, he founded Theater for Children, a non-profit arts organization. In 2024, he was inducted as a pitcher into the Sacramento Baseball Hall of Fame. In 2012, Busfield met Melissa at a bar and was captivated by her smile. Across from the Universal Studios, there was a pub that opened at 8, but it was hardly crowded until 10, when it changed to a club. During his frequent visits, he would enjoy a slice of pizza, watch some sports, and have the bar to himself for the first 45 minutes. When Busfield got his pizza that fateful night, he glanced around the bar to see what was going on, and noticed another individual wearing a fedora. Melissa was the one. At first, he was reluctant to speak with her. He was content to spoon his pillow and be single, because it had been almost 8 months since his previous date. However, he felt pressured to introduce himself to Melissa, and they spent the entire evening conversing. He recognized her right away. It was very authentic. The pair was married the following year. He said that everyone was on an equal footing in every way. One of the best things he did, Melissa continued, was to let her know that she was free to choose not to do anything. As a young performer, no one had ever told her that, so it was a huge deal. Whether she liked it or not, she had always had to do things. The two had children from past marriages and had been divorced twice. While Busfield has 3 children, Samuel, Daisy and Wilson, Melissa has 2 grown sons, Michael and Dakota. Melissa's engagement to actor Timothy Busfield was confirmed by her representative in January 2013. After getting married on April 24, 2013, they spent 5 years in Howell, Michigan, before relocating to New York City in late 2018. The pair also purchased a house in upstate New York's Catskill Mountains in 2018. They intended to escape the bustle of the Big Apple and enjoy some fresh air by the time 2019 arrived. The cottage they purchased was in poor shape. The previous owner had left dirt inside and flaking stucco. They worked hard to refurbish it and planned to live there forever, despite having to cope with mold, mildew, and rodents. Melissa and Busfield co-founded the Gilbert and Busfield podcast in 2020. Amid the epidemic, they discussed a variety of subjects, including show business, family and the pandemic, and hoped the podcast would offer some humor. On May 10, 2002, Melissa's most recent book, Back to the Prairie, A Home Remade, A Life Discovered, was published. I agree. She discusses her choice to live a natural lifestyle in the Catskill Mountains with Busfield in the book. She also acknowledged during the book's promotion that her spouse was the one who truly assisted her in escaping the demands of Hollywood. Melissa had been stuck in the cycle of striving to keep young while growing up in a field that places a lot more weight on appearances than on character. She acknowledged that she had previously experienced pressure to obtain Botox, fillers, and plastic surgery. However, she began to accept her true appearance after getting married to Busfield. She stopped getting Botox and chopped off all of her hair. Busfield was also quite helpful. She had been making a lot of effort to conform to the expectations of others. She is now at last content with who she is. After 12 years of marriage, the pair is still utterly devoted to one another. Dean Butler, her on-screen spouse, was a very different story. Let's learn more about him and the secrets she has long kept from the world. Hubby on screen. Dean Butler stated in an interview with People that if he could go back in time and change anything about his time spent filming Little House on the Prairie, it could be the age gap with co-star Melissa Gilbert. He clarified why their age gap was a bit of a barrier during the Little House on the Prairie 50th anniversary cast reunion and festival. Almanzo Dean was 23 years old, and Melissa was just 15, when they first met in the first portion of the Season 6 episode Back to School. In the episode Sweet 16, their characters shared their first kiss on screen. This was broadcast later in the season. Melissa's mother sobbed aloud as she shared her first kiss on television with actor Dean Butler. The show's creator, director, and star, Michael Landon, had to shout and cut because the emotional outburst was so distracting. Because of the age difference, Melissa's mother had also disapproved of Dean's casting and couldn't stand to see him kiss her daughter. It was an inconvenience for protection. Melissa acknowledged that she had practiced puckering up with another cast member prior to her scene with Dean, despite the fact that everyone thought this was her first kiss in real life. She stated she could only imagine the pressure Dean was under to kiss a youngster when he was an adult. If only she could have told him that she had actually kissed a boy before. Mayor Tim. Melissa's character Laura was instructing a full classroom of kids by the 6th season. Tim Mayer's character Chad Brewster received some one-on-one time with Laura because he was one of her students who required additional assistance. It seems that Melissa and Mayer also interacted off-screen. Although Melissa and Dean are only 8 years apart now, that distance was the Grand Canyon 45 years ago. In addition, Dean was a young guy living alone with a car, but Melissa had been a very sheltered adolescent who was not permitted to wear heels or get her ears pierced. Later on, he learned that Melissa had also been dissatisfied with his casting. Gilbert's chapter about Butler in her memoir, Prairie Tale, was headlined, "Oh shit, they got a real man." She had hoped the producers would find someone closer to her age. Years later, TV Land amusingly presented Dean and Melissa with an award for the most unforgettable kiss in TV history. Stone dispute. Melissa Gilbert claimed that her audition with Oliver Stone in 2017 left her in tears, during a period when Hollywood was dealing with accusations of inappropriate and intimate harassment. She talked about a meeting she had with the director of Snowden while she was a guest on Andy Cohen Live. When Melissa was trying out for the part of Pamela Corson in the 1991 movie The Doors, she purposefully made fun of her. She told Cohen that she was initially reluctant to name Stone. She said that there were times when men in higher positions, one in particular, made fun of me needlessly at an audition because she had made fun of him in a public setting. She fled the room in tears as he retaliated against her. She admitted to Andy that she was terrified of the reaction if she spoke his name. Cohen inquired further as to whether the director had provocatively degraded her. Melissa claimed that Stone had created a unique sequence for her and wanted to see her do it with the actor after she had tried out. "I wanted to see chemistry between the two of them," he said. In that particular scene, Melissa's character was begging, "Do me, baby," while on her hands and knees. She thought it was awful, and was furious as she left the audition. She went on to say that it was all because she publicly humiliated him. After deciding to come clean about her alleged harasser, Melissa eventually revealed that it was Oliver Stone from the Doors movie. Melissa went on to tell Cohen that she thought the alleged crime was retaliatory to an exchange she and Stone had when the director was ragging on TV at a bar. He was talking about how awful television was and that he would never do it in front of a large group of people at a table. Then, while watching Little House on the Prairie, all of these young ladies rushed to see Melissa. He appeared perplexed as they were leaving, and Melissa explained to him that it was television. That is the function of television. He probably didn't forget it. In a swift response to the charges, Stone said that performers were fully aware that the process would be demanding in a statement provided by his representative Soleil Zwanek. It was made clear from the beginning that the film was going to be a raunchy, no-holds-barred rock and roll film. Stone stated in a statement to USA Today, adding that they auditioned dozens of actors for positions in The Doors. In order to provide a safe setting for all performers that auditioned, the casting director Raisa Brahman Garcia was present during the entire process and informed all candidates that the scenes would be practiced and performed from a script. In a separate statement that Zwanek provided to USA Today, Garcia also responded to Melissa's remarks, claiming that the nature of the material and the film's subject made the audition process for The Doors difficult. However, all of the actors who tried out did so willingly and knew about the content before they started their roles. The majority of the performers accepted the challenge, acknowledging Oliver Stone's vision and the creative process, and no actor was pressured or asked to perform anything that would have caused discomfort. In Garcia's experience, no actor was specifically targeted for personal offense. Gilbert thanked Cohen via Twitter on Monday, after her visit. When she was at her worst, she was trying to numb her misery by drinking roughly 2 bottles of wine every night. In 2004, Melissa made the decision to permanently give up drinking after fainting in a dog bed while entertaining a guest for dinner. To help her along the way, she went to AA meetings and sought therapy. She was hesitant to use painkillers at all once she became sober. Fearing addiction, she participated in Dancing with the Stars, despite having a broken back from acting in a stage musical performance of Little House almost a year and a half prior. During the popular ABC dancing competition, she also sustained a concussion, but she once more refused to take any prescribed pain medication. She currently works for drugfree.org, "The Partnership, an organization that aims to help parents discourage their kids from using prescription drugs. She is dedicated about preventing young people from using drugs." The Book of Prairie. Melissa acknowledged that she was inspired by a number of people around her, even if she would love to claim that writing Back to the Prairie was entirely her idea. In those early months of the pandemic, everyone was experiencing that first lockdown. Everyone was in their houses and alone, and social media was the sole means of feeling connected. Melissa shared images of her family's dinners, which were incredibly unhealthy and comforting, but a lot of fun, on social media while they went through that, baking all the sourdough bread and eating all the comfort food. Then, this morning, she received a call from CBS requesting that she come up and do a socially distant piece regarding her return to the plains. She had never heard it before. "Oh, that's cute," she thought. "Let's go back to the plains." After watching the program, Her literary agency contacted her and informed her that the novel was about a return to the prairie way of life, and from there it grew. The plan was to use the hens to commemorate the life she and her husband had built up in the Catskills. She also wished to remind people to be tolerant, kind, loving, and empathetic. The concept of what individuals need versus what they want inspired her. After all, the entire lockdown period taught people that when you suddenly can't afford toilet paper, everything else becomes completely irrelevant. Her desire to live on a farm was unexpected, given that she was raised in Los Angeles. Melissa did, however, grow up on a farm-like set. She was able to play it out for a while before heading to her lovely contemporary home at the end of a cul-de-sac in Encino. However, she always enjoyed being outside. She had a lifelong affinity for animals. Melissa feels that this is the essence of who she has always been. It just so happened that she was raised in a city. After she and Busfield arrived, they took possession of their farm and began considering all the possible uses for it. Then the lockdown took place. All of this stuff was released within her. Someone was desperate to start this new life, an actual role model. Melissa Gilbert's path demonstrates her resilience, courage, and love for what she does. From her early career as a child star to her present-day work as a producer, campaigner, and director, Gilbert has demonstrated her capacity to prosper in the turbulent entertainment sector. She became an integral element of American pop culture as her memorable depiction of Laura Ingalls Wilder won over audiences all over the world. She is incredibly flexible, as evidenced by her later performances in television and movies. However, her influence extends beyond her remarkable body of work. Her dedication to her family and community, her support of women's rights and enterprises, and her commitment to social justice are all shining examples of the great impact one person can have on the world. Without a question, she would have had a tremendous impact if she had stayed in politics. Fans of all ages will continue to find inspiration in Melissa Gilbert as she manages the highs and lows of her life while cultivating strawberries and rearing chickens. Her fortitude, kindness, and optimism serve as a reminder that despite all obstacles, we are still capable of achieving our personal goals and changing the world in a significant way. Which of her films is your favorite? Tell us in the comments section below. For more fascinating articles about your favorite celebrities, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the next video that appears on your screen if you liked this one.